Alright, so we've seen how we can use vModel to track what a user types into these different input fields, and then we store those in these data properties. But we can use vModel with other form fields as well, not just inputs like this. And one of those form fields is a select box. So let's give this a whirl. Let's create a label for this first, get rid of the for attribute, and this is going to be for the role, and that would be their job role, and it could either be a web designer or a web developer. So let's do a select box for this. We don't need the name or the ID attribute, we're not going to be using those, and inside the select box we need a couple of options. Now the value of the first option could be developer, and what a user sees would be web developer. Let's do another, and this time it's going to be for designer, and this would be web designer. Let me just spell this correctly, developer. Okay, so now if we take a look at this, a user has two options, web designer and web developer, and I might want to track what option a user selects. So I'm going to create another property down here, a third property called role, and that's going to be a blank string to begin with. Then I'm going to apply a vModel to the select field itself. So v-model is equal to role, like that. And now whatever a user selects, the value of that option is going to be assigned to this right here. Now if I output this at the bottom, we should see what a user selects. So let's do role and output that variable like so, save it and come over here. If we select one of these things now, we can see update at the bottom with the value of whatever we select. So web designer is designer and web developer is developer. Now if we refresh, we can see to begin with no value or option is selected. If you want there to be a default option, then you need to apply a value to this to begin with, and the reason we don't see an option is because we have this binding and there is no value. So we're saying, okay, I don't want anything being selected to begin with because this is empty. Now if I was to say in here designer, it would mean this would be the default option to begin with. So if I save it and come over here, we can see web designer is selected, and if we refresh, it's still selected, and we can see the value down here is designer. I can still change it, that's absolutely fine. All we're doing is setting an initial value for the role up here. All right, cool. So that's how we use vModel with select fields. And again, we can also use them with other fields as well, like checkboxes. And we're going to see how to do that in the next lecture. But before we do that, I just want to make this look a little nicer. So if we go down to the CSS, the input fields have these styles. I'm also going to apply those styles to select boxes as well. Save it, and that looks a bit better.